All right, y'all. What is up, childrens? Um, Topic for today is so I was actually having a conversation with an old friend last night, and we talked about parenting as one with children does, because it's super important to us, right? We care a lot about it. When you care about something, you spend a lot of time and attention on it. And one of the topics that we talked about that really got me thinking was how invested parents are in their kids' future and how that causes us to act with you and treat you. And I am for sure guilty of this, where I spend so much time thinking about the future I want you to have. Not anything specific. It's not like I am super invested, and I think I've told you this, but I'm not super invested in whether or not you become like a professional athlete or a musician or a doctor or a lawyer. I don't really care. I want you to choose something that works for you, something you enjoy, something that works for your values, and provides you the kind of life that you want to have. Now, what that looks like makes almost no difference to me. I mean, I don't want you to become like the world's most successful drug dealer or serial killer. I'm hoping it's something that's not morally bankrupt. But beyond that, I don't really care. That's your decision. What I want for you is for you to be able to make that decision from a position of strength, right? I want you to be able to decide, I want to do this because I'm interested in it, I'm passionate about it, and I'm good at it. And ideally it makes the world a better place. But I want you to be able to make that choice rather than having a choice made for you, or you just kind of end up down a path sort of aimlessly. Because I think that that's how people end up with jobs they hate, and they're just like going through the motions. Now, this is something that we, particularly in like first world countries, relatively good situations, I think we probably over agonize about that. What do I mean by that? I think we spend an inordinate amount of time thinking that like our career should have some deeper meaning, and like it should be a passion project and you should wake up every day excited to go to work. That's a very uniquely first world thing to think. And that like if your job doesn't have meaning, it's just soul crushing. Like, come on. The overwhelming majority of the people who have ever lived in the history of humanity did not have a job that was like some spiritual calling. Right? I don't think a whole lot of people who were farming corn were like, you know what, I've just always dreamt of farming corn. Now maybe some do because they're like, hey, I'm feeding the world. Cool. Cool. But my point is that I don't think most people view their job that way. And certainly not most people historically. If you were a serf in the Middle Ages, I am pretty confident you didn't feel like that was a calling. You just felt like, this is it for me. This is my lot in life, and I'm going to turn my plow and get up tomorrow and do the exact same thing, and hopefully my family has enough food to eat and we don't get the plague. So there's a degree of privilege that goes into just even having that thought in your head that my job should be a calling. But, when you're a parent and you can give your kids that kind of life, you're going to want to, right? So we as parents spend like an inordinate amount of time thinking about your future and how do we set you up for success. And my buddy's point was like, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should just give you a really basic framework for life and kind of let you do your thing, Because like, does it matter? Like, why am I so invested in what you do for a living? You should be invested in that. And if you don't care that much, why should I care? And he told this story. I'm sure this is not a real story. It's probably an allegory. I'm hoping I'm using that word correctly. But basically, the story goes like this. this owner of this company, right? This like let's call him Beff Jezos. He goes down to Mexico for a vacation to just kind of disconnect, and he charters this fishing boat. And this this guy takes him out on the fishing boat, and they have a great time, and it's this relaxing, joyful experience. And Beff comes back, and they're getting off the boat, and he asks the captain, like, "Hey man, this was a really good time. This is awesome. Like, I think this is something I'd want to invest in." And the guy's like, "Why?" And he's like, "Well, I mean, this just seems incredible. It's something I'd love to be a part of. This was a great time. I think if you did it on a larger scale, a lot more people would want to do it. Like, why do you do it?" And the guy's like, "I like fishing. I like going out on the boat. I like fishing. I like sharing that experience with other people. And then I go home and hang out with my family, and I'm happy." And Beth's like, "Well, great. Like, I could invest some money, and then you could buy some more boats." The guy's like, "Why?" He's like, "Well, you could make more money. You could have more people come out, and you could take more people fishing." The guy's like, "Okay, why?" He's like, "Well, then you'd make more money, and you could invest more, and you could buy maybe another boat and hire an employee." And the guy's like, "Okay, why?" It's like, "Well, I mean, if you did that, you could make even more money. You could buy even more boats. Maybe you could have 4. And the guy's like, "Okay, why?" And Beth's like, "Well, just think about it. You could keep scaling this, and at a certain point, you could retire." And the guy's like, "And do what?" And Beth's like, "Spend your time on your fishing boat and hang out with your family." And the guy's like I do now?" So the point was, like, we spend all this time and energy chasing something, in a lot of cases, without even really knowing what it is we're chasing. We do it because it's kind of like what we understand we're supposed to do. And I kind of feel like sometimes I'm doing that with you guys. Like, I'm so invested in your future because as a parent, that's just kind of like what you do. You have these kids, and then you're like, "Well, I care about them a ton, and I want them to be happy, and I want them to be successful, and I want them to do all the things." And it's like, why? For what? Why are you so like, you know what I mean? If you guys find something you love, awesome. Do that thing. Do it lots. Get really good at it. Maybe someday you can turn it into a career, but maybe someday you won't turn it into a career. Does it really matter if you get super good at soccer and become a professional at it? I don't know. Maybe. If it does, go for it. If it doesn't, like, you can still love soccer. You can still play soccer all the time and enjoy it. And if you're not getting paid, who cares? Go play. It's fun. You got in a workout. You had some fun with your friends. Maybe you made some new friends. It doesn't matter. So, part of the process of recording these videos is sometimes catharsis and realizing, like, might need to pivot on some of these things. But some of it is just like give you an insight into why we act the way we do, because I think sometimes it probably is confusing for you guys as kids to be like, why are you so concerned about this? And there are reasons, okay, to be fair. Like, it can be tough to make it in this world. It can be really tough. And people who make a good living, have good jobs, they do have more freedom than people who don't. They can kind of choose things when other people can't. Like, Beff Jezos in the story I just told you, he's not wrong that if the guy makes a ton of money from his fishing boats, he can pick and choose. Like, if there's a day he doesn't feel like going out on the boat, he can just say no. That's something he can't do if he needs every single one of those chartered fishing trips to pay his mortgage. So there are reasons for it. And it's not, the world isn't quite as simple as just saying, do whatever you feel like doing and it'll all work out. I mean, there are people who feel like just doing drugs all day or drinking all day. Like, that doesn't generally pan out super well. So, we're not wrong to nag you. We're not wrong to lecture you. Lecture is just like kind of a naggy word for like trying to teach you something in many cases. But, we're not wrong about it, but maybe we do need to take a step back and kind of ease up on the pressure a little bit and kind of let you figure things out. Because, I mean, a big part of childhood is making mistakes, realizing what those mistakes cost you, and then updating your behavior accordingly. We just, as parents, it's so hard for us to let you do that. And I know I've talked about this in another video, so you can go watch that one, but I'm not going to beat that point to death on this one. But that's what I was thinking about today, is just kind of giving you an explanation and some context for why we act the way we do, and also kind of trying to take a minute to think about whether or not we really should be doing it and how much we should be doing it. So anyway, I hope you got something out of this. Love you very much. See you on the next one.